Hello and welcome. My name is Christina from Empowered Creator. I am a mindset and conscious manifesting teacher and coach, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I talk about all things law of assumption, mindset, conscious manifesting, the quantum universe, and a lot more. And my goal is to simplify everything without the fluff. So if you guys like this content and you would like to see more of it, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, and stick around. Also, if you need any help with your specific situation, I offer one-on-one coaching, email coaching, small group coaching, as well as custom subliminals for whatever needs you may have. You may also want to check out my mini course about telepathically connecting with your specific person. So if you're interested in any of these services, the links are below in the description box. Click on them and they're going to take you to my website. With all that being said, let's dive into today's video. In today's video, I want to remind all of you guys who are manifesting a specific person that it is totally and absolutely possible to recreate your specific person into a different version of themselves through your consciousness, through your awareness, and through changing your own perceptions. We're also going to go into the concept of multiple selves, of multiple versions of self, and I'm going to give you some examples to help you understand it better. So this is what I'll be discussing in today's video. Stay tuned. So I'm sure that especially for those of you who might be new or newer in the whole manifesting concept and in the whole manifesting practice, this whole recreating your specific person or recreating another person as a different version of themselves might sound very out there. It might sound a bit wild. It might sound a bit too good to be true, or perhaps wishful thinking, because after all, in our society, we hear all the time, you can't change a person. You cannot change someone else. You cannot change the ways of someone. They are how they are. This is what it is. There's nothing you can do. So we hear that from our social conditioning all the time. Most of us have been hearing that since we were children. And so I completely understand why it might feel completely crazy to some of you that you might be able to recreate a specific person to show up differently for you and to show you a different version of themselves. However, I'm here to tell you that it is totally and absolutely possible. And not only is it totally and absolutely possible, I'm going to give you some examples that are going to show you that you have already experienced that in your life already, in your 3D life, in your 3D reality. So let me give you some examples here to better illustrate this point. I'm sure many of you, if not most of you, have had the experience of talking to someone about a specific person. It doesn't have to be a romantic specific person. It can be any specific person, a coworker, a friend, a relative, whoever. And you may have a certain opinion of them, and they show up to you in your 3D reality in a way that matches the opinion you have of them and the assumptions you have of them. Whereas you might be talking to another person about that same person, and they may have a completely different opinion. And guess what? The same person might be showing up to the other person as a completely different version to what you're experiencing. They are showing up in a way that confirms their opinion of that person, their assumptions of that person, their expectations of that person. Another example, let's say you're in a relationship and your partner does something that really triggers you, really bothers you, really annoys you, okay? So you've now formed an assumption of them, an expectation for them to continue to show up in that way and continuing that habit or that practice or whatever it is they're doing that annoys you and triggers you. This is how you perceive them, and essentially deep down you're expecting them to continue with that behavior. So what happens is they do show up in that way for you. They do show up in the way which you expect and in the way in which you perceive them. And the more they continue the behavior that annoys you, the more they continue the habit that triggers you or whatever it might be, you get more and more triggered. And you notice it more and more, and you establish it more and more in your mind that this is how they are, this is what they do, this is what I'm expecting them to do. I'm also sure that many of you, if not most of you, have also had the experience of letting go of something that triggers you about a specific person, about your partner, about the person you're in a relationship with. Let's say they have an annoying habit, and after it's been annoying you for a while, at some point you decide to accept it, or at some point you decide it doesn't bother you anymore, and you start seeing them under a different light. You start seeing their behavior differently, it doesn't bother you anymore, it doesn't annoy you anymore, and so you completely soften up towards them. And where you used to see a problem before, you no longer see a problem now. I'm sure that if you've had this experience, you have noticed the difference in their behavior. Maybe they stopped that habit completely. Maybe they dropped it altogether. Once it stopped bothering you and once it stopped triggering you, their behavior and how they were showing up completely changed. Maybe they dropped that habit altogether. Maybe they were doing it much less. Maybe they started being much more considerate towards you. Maybe they stopped being interested in whatever it was that they were doing before that was triggering you, and now that you're not triggered anymore, they are not interested in that either. So what changed here? What changed? The only thing that changed was your own perception and what you had been projecting towards them. They are the same person. They showed you a version of themselves with an annoying habit that was annoying you, bothering you, triggering you. You kept reacting to that. You kept noticing it. You kept keeping it established in your reality. And once you stopped being triggered and you started projecting a calmer demeanor towards them, a softer stance, if you will, towards them, they also changed their behavior and they started showing up in a different way. They started showing a better face, a better version towards you, where what used to trigger you before might not even exist in that new version. And I'm sure you've also had this experience with friends. Maybe if something triggered you, if something annoyed you, and then you stopped being triggered by that person all of a sudden started showing up as sweet, as nice, kind, polite to you. You know why? That is because the hostility you used to project towards them, the annoyance that you used to project towards them before, is not there anymore. And so where before they used to match the annoyance by being annoying, by showing you evidence that they are annoying and that you have reasons to be annoyed at them, now that you're no longer triggered by them, they have switched to a different version where they're nice, where they're kind, where they're polite, and where they're no longer giving you reasons to be triggered by them because you are not triggered by them anymore anyway. So you see then how this is all connected and related to each other, and our own perceptions, our own projections, our own energies get projected to the other person, in this case our SP. We project our own expectations, we project our own assumptions, we essentially give them the scenario we want them to play, and they play it out for us perfectly. This goes for all people, by the way, not just for SP. It's just this video is specific to SP. So this is why if you are manifesting a specific person, whether it's an ex, whether it's someone you're in a relationship with and you're manifesting improvement in the relationship, whether it's a friend, a co-worker, or maybe even someone who doesn't know you yet, you have certain assumptions towards them, you have certain expectations about how they're going to show up, and chances are they're matching these expectations and these perceptions perfectly. So if there are parts of them that you don't like, if there are parts of them that you don't prefer, if there are parts of them that you would prefer to see a different version of, it's all in your power. You need to change your own perceptions of them. You need to change your own expectations. You need to change your own assumptions about them, your own feelings and your own energies. You want to start feeling within you as the person who's already dealing with that side of them, with that version of them. How would it feel if they were that version of themselves now? How would you be thinking about them? How would you be treating them? What would be your expectations of them, of how they show up and how they treat you? And you want to dwell in that reality until your perceptions naturally start changing. Once this happens, and once your new perceptions start becoming dominant within you, they're going to be pushed out. Your person is going to subconsciously receive them, and they're going to reflect them back to you. And you guys, don't be surprised if you see a completely different version. Remember that all of us, you, me, your neighbor, your mom, your friend, your specific person, your co-worker, all of us have an infinite amount of versions of ourselves within us. Your SP has an infinite amount of versions of themselves that you can tap into. You can choose what version you want. You can bring it forth into your 3D by changing your own perceptions and how you feel towards them in the first place. And they're going to show it to you. They're going to reflect it to you. So yes, your SP is completely capable of changing because they already have the infinite number of versions within themselves. Yes, it is completely possible for them to show up in a completely different way if that's what you want. And it all depends on your own awareness and your own consciousness. So I hope this motivates you guys to keep focused on the version of your specific person that you want to see and experience. Know that they already have the change within themselves because they already have the multiple versions within themselves. So all you're doing is just tapping into the version that you want and bringing it out, bringing it forth into the 3D. And if you focus and persist in that and dwell in that, you will be seeing the changes sooner or later. With all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I intend that this has helped. As always, I very much appreciate you guys being on this channel, watching this content. I love making this content for you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all at the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.